Governor, as you mentioned, it'll be at 95% of the funding level, which means it's a reduction of 5.2%. What do you foresee will have to be cut from universities because the appropriations will be reduced?
One of the reasons we're doing this so early, we've already got this year in place. This is for next year. This will give the Board of Curators, the managers, the President, and the Chancellor an opportunity to have plenty of time, plenty of ramp-up time to find out what those decisions should be. I have a huge faith in our President, in our Chancellors, and in the administration that we have in place to make the right calls, do those in an open and transparent way. And I think that that's their job and responsibility. It's not my job as governor to micromanage the decisions of fine institutions like this or the other public four-year institutions in the state of Missouri. It's my job to try to provide them the certainty of funding and the support, and continue to make the clear connection between people investing their own time and money in trying to improve themselves by going to school after they complete high school, and how that is an economic pathway for the future of our state. I think this is just a time in which these economic indicators are incredibly clear. But to your specific question, those are choices that those on the ground in the key roles at the universities with this amount of time will be in a position to make. Anybody else? Sure.
This freeze applies to in-state residents, students who live in Missouri. What about out-of-state residents? How big of an increase do you project they will see?
Once again, that's up to the various boards and leadership of the universities. We thought at leaning towards focusing on Missouri students was what we did last year, is what we do this year. This is a state institution supported significantly by state resources, as are all of the institutions of higher education in the state of Missouri. And we thought if you're going to strike a deal that in prioritizing that, the way to lean forward first and to strongest is to send a clear signal to Missourians for the second year in a row that Missouri students going to our schools here in the Show Me State will not see an increase in tuition or academic fees. So we just made the decision that we were going to bet on Missouri students, and since we had such a significant portion obviously the funding comes from Missouri, that we would leave it up to the local institutions to deal with out-of-state issues.
And does the freeze only apply to undergraduates?
Yes. Yep. It applies to undergraduates only. Yes. Yes, sir.
So the academic fees you speak of, does that refer to?
I'm sorry, the academic.
You said no increase in tuition and academic fees. Does that include course fees that are levied in addition to tuition costs, or is that just sort of broadly? I'm just trying to get the scope for undergraduates.
This is the same deal we had last year. In the sense of what the costs were. So sure. The same ones that were included in last year's freeze will be also in this one.
Sure. Thank you.
Anybody else?
How many years can you sustain this sort of deal? Is next year going to see a cut in appropriation and no tuition freeze in your opinion?
We're doing these deals 1 year at a time. I think it's important to look at while we want to look at longer range, and that's why we're doing this for in essence the next 18 months. These deals are one at a time. We don't know what the economic conditions are going to be. We could see all sorts of different economic conditions 18 months from now than what we have now. These are singular deals. This time next year, we'll discuss what our options and opportunities are. But I think we've proven the values here. I mean, at a time in which you're seeing significant challenges all across the country, I'm very proud that this week when the jobless numbers came out, that we saw the national numbers go up to 10.2% at the same time that Missouri went down to 9.3%. I just believe that when you're in a recession like this, that putting additional responsibilities, financial impediments to folks that are trying to improve themselves is the wrong step. And I think that we are beginning to bear fruit in this. As you see, Moody's rated Missouri one of 11 states in the country, top 11 states in the country to come out of the recession most quickly. I think that we are planning, we said at the very beginning of this, that we were going to bet on human capital, that we were going to bet on people who, through their own hard work, who have been willing to continue to get their schooling and take the challenging courses and challenging coursework at institutions like this. That is who's going to help us reframe our economy. I think it will. I am hopeful. I'm very hopeful that will come rebound out of this recession, and we'll be talking about, you know, putting additional resources into our public education system at both the K through 12 as well as the higher education level. So we're doing these one year at a time, and have not begun to have substantive discussions about next year at all yet.
President Forsythe and Chancellor Deaton, have you considered what these cuts will mean for the university as a whole and maybe for Columbia specifically?
Well, just let me answer briefly. You know, starting last year at this time, we were perhaps confronted with 15, 20, or 25% reduction scenarios. Thus, the foundation for last year's agreement was put in place. But at the same time, we knew that this recession period could be, you know, long-term in nature. So we took very significant actions last year to control expense, including holding positions open, which obviously creates other tensions on the campus as we do that. So those rules and guidelines remain in effect, and to the extent our campuses, and I think Mizzou, because of its size and scale in particular, have been able to accrue some savings, kind of banking for this continued economic challenge that we have, then our attempt, certainly working across the 4 campuses, and we'll start that later this morning in my staff meeting, will be to get the plan in place. We have time now, as a result of this agreement, to do this the right way with care for students, faculty, and staff being at the top of the list that we work our way through. So we have time to plan accordingly.